I'm Kate Neale. I'm 22 years old and I was diagnosed with Clark's stage 2 melanoma in June 2011. I started tanning when I was 16 years old. As soon as I could sign for myself, I was in the salon and I was tanning up to 16 times a month in one of the strongest beds. I really believed that what I was doing was safe, even though my parents were against it. I continuously brought home brochures from the salon and letters that they would print out monthly that would show that it was safe and the benefits from it. When I was 18 and graduated high school, I was looking for employment because I was staying here for a year, and I was in the salon one day and the owner approached me and asked me if I was looking for a job. She said that I'd be the perfect fit to work as a tanning consultant. So I applied for the job, went in for my interview, and got it on the spot. I signed a contract saying I would maintain a tanned appearance, and in return I would get 12 free tans a month. It was perfect. It was just the job for me. I started working there in September 2008, and I worked there for 3.5 years. During those 3 years, I know I didn't take off longer than a week of tanning, and that was because I was on vacation or out of town or sick. I tanned 12 times a month for 3 years and 16 times a month for the other 2 years that I didn't work there. I began noticing spots all over my body, but being fair-skinned, I thought it was normal and it was just from the tanning. There was a few spots that had stayed on me and gotten darker over time, but I wasn't worried. I left my job at the tanning salon in March 2011 and I moved to Ottawa for work. That April, my mom and I went on a vacation to Florida, and she saw a spot on my stomach and said, you know, that looks like it's getting darker, maybe you should go get it checked out. And being Smart Tan certified and I have been the senior tanning consultant in one of the largest tanning salons in Canada, I felt confident that I knew what I had done was safe and that there's no way I could have caused myself any damage. I also wasn't aware that UV rays were a known carcinogen. I almost didn't go to the dermatologist that morning because I didn't want to, and I was angry and I was upset. I felt like my mom didn't trust me. But my aunt got me in as a favor, and so I had to go. So I walked into the dermatologist and I told him my history, and he said, well, I hope you don't tan anymore. And I said, I don't, because I don't have time, I don't have the money. And so I showed him the 2 spots that my mom had been concerned about, and I thought he was just going to look at them and tell me they're fine and that was going to be my appointment. So he looked at them and he said, the one on your stomach's a little dark, but it doesn't look like melanoma. I'm going to cut it off instead. When he said he was going to cut it off, that was the scariest moment. I was crying because I just had a piece of skin taken off me, and I'd been working in an industry where appearances were so important. I was basically selling an appearance, and most people tan indoors for vanity reasons, and it had become a part of me, and having a little piece of skin taken out of my stomach at that moment was very detrimental to me, and I just couldn't deal with it. And I called my mom and basically blamed her for everything because I didn't want to go there in the first place. My dad called me and he said there was a message on our home phone in Belleville from the dermatologist or from the office, and he said that they needed me to call them right away. So he had called them for me and they wouldn't speak to him because I'm over the age of 18. So he said, you need to call them right away. And at that moment, that's when I broke down. I called them and the receptionist said that she needed to book an appointment for me to come in and talk to the dermatologist. I was already shaking at that point and borderline having a nervous breakdown. I said, can you please tell me why? I said, I can't wait. I need you to tell me why I need to come in for an appointment. And she goes, it's just regarding the results of your biopsy. And if you want to invite your parents, you can, that's fine. And I was so panicky at that moment. I hung up on her and I didn't call my mom, I couldn't talk. I texted my mom and I said, can you call the dermatologist's office and tell them that you need to know right away? And they wouldn't tell her. After several phone calls back and forth, the dermatologist did come on the phone and he told me that it was stage 2 melanoma, and I again hung up the phone on him because those are the scariest words. After working in the industry, I knew that melanoma was a bad thing. It was the worst kind of cancer, although we weren't too educated on the different types of skin cancers. I knew that melanoma was the worst and the deadliest. I remember going home that day and everyone was telling me that it was going to be fine. And at that moment I thought that he had cut it out and it was gone, because that was always my perception of what skin cancer was. A week later, they called me and said I'd have to book an appointment with a plastic surgeon and he was going to have to remove a scar tissue out of my stomach. It was probably the worst month of my life. 2 weeks later, we got a phone call saying that the surgery had been bumped and I was going in on the Monday, and this was on a Thursday. I was really nervous, but I just wanted to get it over with. So I went and I had 9 or 10 needles in my stomach and I was awake for the whole surgery. They also did 3 more biopsies that day just to make sure that everything was okay. They cut out all this tissue around the melanoma and sent it in for a biopsy. Luckily, that tissue was okay. However, the surgeon had mentioned there was at least 5 or 6 more spots that had to be removed. He also said that it was hard for him to remove them because I was so young and he didn't want to scar up my body. After my initial surgery in September, I went back to work and tried to proceed with my life as normally as I could. The doctors told me my chances of anything reappearing again that could be cancerous was 90%. Well, when you have over 40 spots on your body that you're concerned about, taking pictures of them every 2 to 3 weeks isn't the funnest thing to do. I currently have a spot that I just noticed 2 weeks ago, and it's under my arm, and it's changed a little bit, but even seeing that little change scares me so much. So I've made an appointment and I'm gonna go see the dermatologist. After I was diagnosed with melanoma, I think it was a huge eye-opener to my family. I have 4 brothers and sisters and our age differences are huge, and we've not always spent the time or gone out of our way to keep in touch. And I think that after this happened, everybody just woke up, and since then our family's been a lot closer. I see my sister who lives in Ottawa every 3rd week probably. She drives down to Belleville, which was really nice, helping me to cope, knowing that my family was there. I found a few other coping mechanisms because I do worry every single day, every single minute of my life. I've started to do hot yoga. I practice mindfulness, and if I'm having a really bad day, I go visit my niece and nephew and just be thankful that I'm here to see them.